So, hi guys, Halima here, aka Halish, as my friends call me. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a Kenyan by birth, an African by heritage, and human by nature. So, guys, especially Kenyans, there is this story that has been going around on the internet since last month about one guy who is a social media, who is a media personality, not a social media, also as much as they're in social media. He's a media personality who lost a child with his wife. And my God, I was so shocked by how people responded to the whole thing, especially women. Like, it really hit me hard, because I normally say if you've never walked in someone's shoe, you would not understand what they are going through at that particular mind. Or even if you've ever gone through the same thing, maybe your own experience was a bit different from the understanding from the nature and how the whole thing goes through. So, as a person who has gone through losses, I've gone through pregnancy losses, I can say honestly it's not easy. And the last thing you'd ever want is people judging you, because maybe for one, they've never had that experience. Secondly, our mindsets are totally different. We don't see things the same way. As much as we are all humans, we don't perceive things the same way. We don't really take in pain the same way, and what hits you could be totally different from what hits another person. Why am I talking about this story? Because I myself have gone through that. In fact, I've gone through 3 pregnancy losses, and it's not easy at all. So I don't know if I should call it my struggle with infertility at first, or trying to get a baby. But anyway, what am I trying to say is that, please, if you've never been through such a thing, just don't put your mouth on someone just like that. As much as we are all entitled to our own opinions, but at least when you sit alone by yourself, think about whatever you're trying to project on a person that is going through pain. For me, my first challenge with pregnancy actually was in 2011, when I first had an ectopic pregnancy. I didn't know what that was. I was around 21 years old, 22 years old. And me and my husband had just started living together. That was the most horrific ordeal I went through. You can imagine, you just starting off your career. Your mind is not even settled yet for marriage. It's the love thing. When you are young and you love somebody, the only thing you think is being with that person, without even thinking of the repercussions or consequences that take place. But hey, here I was, young, madly in love, and starting off in life. I remember one night I was just lying on bed. In fact, it was the first time we had moved in together, and he had gone to his folks' place to pick some of his stuff that night, and I slept alone. The pain had started like 2 days prior to that, but I didn't know what. I thought it's the normal cramps of period pains. So that night, the pain was so intense that I felt like dying, literally dying. It was like someone was taking a knife and piercing my abdomen. And I was bleeding a bit. It wasn't too much, but it was so painful. I remember I called one of his sisters, who told me, why don't you just go and get tested to see what it is. I told her the first thing tomorrow morning, that's what I was going to do. I didn't want to disturb my husband with the whole thing. I'm a kind of a person who, before I tell you what I'm going through, I will have processed it and try to find the solution by myself. Then if I'm not able, I'll share. So when he came back the next morning, we went to hospital. And when we went to hospital, I was in so much pain, like my color had started to change. I was sweating profusely, and it was crazy. The moment we entered the doctor's place, I was taken in for an emergency, and they ran some tests, and the lady doctor, let me call her, the lady gynecologist, told me that I was pregnant. Remember, I'm just 22, and I'm like, what, pregnant? It hit me so hard because at that particular moment, the last thing that was on my mind was pregnancy, or starting off a family. But hey, I mean, the moment you get into a relationship with someone, even if you're young or old, things are bound to happen. And here I was pregnant. So I was not only pregnant, but she told me that the pregnancy had to be terminated immediately, because if not, I was about to lose my life. I was in shock. The pain was too much. So by that time, we were just starting off in life. We didn't even have the finances to like undergo the operation. We didn't have insurance or anything. My husband was also starting off in life. We were just beginning a new life together. Thank God for, I normally call them destiny helpers. You know, those old, not old really, but those people like nature, God, or source, or whichever divinity you believe in, brings somebody into your life who takes up a role that you have never imagined. So immediately, first, even before we called the person to help us, the place where we went and I was run test, it was sort of a clinic. It wasn't a place that you would be like admitted and undergo the procedure. So we had to leave with the results and try to get a place where I could have an operation. Remember, this time we don't even have money. In fact, things were tough. Things were tough. I didn't know how to tell my parents, first and foremost, because I had not even informed them that I had moved on with my now husband. So it was a struggle. But hey, who do you call the first time you're going through such a thing? Said, let me call my mom. At least, mothers are understanding in these things. I called her and she also was shocked. Like, what? It was a really shocker to her. Yes, now we began to look for hospital that we could afford. We went round and round Nairobi, from Buruburu, I don't know, Buruburu, Makadara, just looking to a place we could afford. And the pain was so much, I was screaming in the car. And then when I began to turn, my skin color started to turn. I was like getting dark and screaming in the car. That time we had now come this side of Ngong Road. It's when now we went to Nairobi Hospital, the one in Adams, and immediately I went in like this. I was taken in as an emergency. My husband had to pay something small for them to begin the procedure. Like, it couldn't even wait. Payments were being done. He was outsourcing the payments while they were preparing me for theater. I went into theater, and what was more painful to me is the fact that I didn't even have my child, but they had to remove my one tube. They said the tube had to be removed because it was totally damaged. It had begun to erupt. And when that tube ruptures, you could easily lose your life. So I'm like, and then you're like, now it's like you'll never have children. You don't, that time even you're trying to Google and understand what is an ectopic pregnancy. I began to read about it on the internet. Immediately after the procedure, and I was put on painkillers from the second day. The first day it was so painful. My God, that pain is too much. Too much, it is crazy. So the second day I'm like, hey, and then it began to sink in me, like, oh, maybe I'll never have children. I began to cry. It was crazy. I went into an emotional roller coaster of regrets, pain, self-blame, like, why did this happen? I began to ask myself, oh, was it because maybe so much was going on in my mind that time. I stayed in the hospital for like 4 days, then we went home. When we went back home after recovery, the nurse, I began like to crave now for a child. Because that time you are told that the chances of you having a child are 50-50. So I began to like crave for a baby. I would like tell my husband, no, we have to. Because now at the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I'll never be able to have children. And I kept reading materials. Most of the information you have online, some people are more biased. Some people can write stuff that would really put you down. And I don't know what is it with us human beings. Most of the time when you go through a hard situation, you normally focus on the negative aspect of it. So I would just read and read more materials about what is an ectopic, what happens when you lose one of your tubes, blah blah blah. So we tried for almost like 2 years. I remember every night also, when anytime my periods would come, I would cry. I would like cry, asking God why. It's not easy. Those people who have undergone infertility understand. At times you are sleeping, when you're on the act, after the act, you don't want even to move, thinking that maybe by sleeping flat and raising your legs, the thing will just form. All those madness. I went through all those madness, and it's crazy. What am I saying this? I want to encourage someone who is maybe going through an infertility struggle, or who has been there, or who is trying, or who came out of such a situation now, even as you're listening to me, that all hope is not lost. Don't give up. One of the things I believe was hindering me from conceiving is my mind and the stress, because like your hormones are now on a crazy. And I normally hear, I've heard, and also doctors, most gynecologists or doctors will tell you need to relax when you're in that period of trying to get a baby, or trying to take in. So after that, we stay like every month, we were just trying until now, after 2 years. And that time, I'm working, I'm in an office, people know what I went through. And actually, me and my story and my husband, how we kicked off wasn't so good. I'll share that later on, maybe in one of the videos as time goes by, when I'm telling on how we met and how we got up to the place we are in life. So that time in the office, people are talking, people are asking you, how come? Hey, it's 6 months, it's 1 year. And the funny thing is that also, what I also observed is that when it was too cold, the wound, the place where they had operated on, was so itchy. I would itch at that place where they cut. Yeah, and me and my husband would pray at night. That time now you are repenting every known and unknown sin. Because that time I was also deep in religion. You are praying and repenting. You're trying to get every kind of solution you can in prayer. You're only focusing on God. You don't have money to see most gynecologists, because that time you are still we are starting off in life. You don't have the 5,000 to go to a reputable gynecologist. But let me say, nature has its way of making things work out in different ways. I took in, and the moment I took in, after those 2 years, about, is it 3 or it was around 6 weeks, I went to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, they were running a test to see, because before even I went to the hospital, when I realized that my periods had missed, I went and bought those kits that we use for checking if you're pregnant. And the kit showed the 2 lines, and I was so happy. We were so happy with my husband. I remember him rolling in the sitting room, holding me so tight, and me holding him. We were just cuddling each other and crying. That excitement, like finally. Then we planned and we went to hospital, only for the doctor to say, let's do a scan. And when we did a scan, like, there was no heartbeat. You're so excited, and you're like, wow. Now you're lying down there, you're so excited, you want to listen to that heartbeat, and he goes like, there is no heartbeat. And I'm like, what? My husband is like, what? Doctor, please check well. We did the scan for almost 1 hour, and after that, the same thing was like, there was no heartbeat. So what is this? If there is no heartbeat, I've missed my periods. The kit showed positive. So what are you trying to tell me, Mr. Doctor? Then he's like, no, what you have is what we call a brightened ovum. That's another tragedy to me that shocked me. It shocked me even more. It hit me harder than the previous one, because here I was trying to conceive for 2 good years. And luckily, I've taken in, but now I'm told there's no heartbeat. Oh my God. It was crazy. Crazy. I remember I cried for like a whole month. I couldn't concentrate or perform very well at work because of the whole thing. Like, then I began, that time there's so much that happens to a woman when she has undergone loss. You begin to have thoughts like maybe you married the wrong person, maybe someone somewhere is bewitching you. If that is, most people who are in the charismatic and Pentecostal understand where such things and thoughts come from. And I'm like, oh no. That time even I wanted like out of the marriage, but I thank God for my husband. He held on to me. You'd always encourage me and you'd tell me, sweetheart, don't worry, it will happen again. So that time, you've told your family and few friends, and you don't know even some of the people you're telling, they are also going and telling others. So it's going round and round and round and round and round. And that it comes with judgment, it comes with so much nonsense when people begin to put their mouth in your business. As usual, human beings, how we are. So I took time also now to grieve. It's a grieving moment. There is no loss that is easy. Every loss is painful. Even if you carried that pregnancy for a week, you'd feel the pain. So here we are, a month went by, 2 months, 3 months. Then in my mind now was like, I was crazy. I wanted another baby. I was like, babes, I was like telling my husband, we need another baby. I remember I used to cry and tell him, why is all these things happening to us, blah, blah, blah. And that time, you believe a lot of nonsense. People tell you different things and you absorb all that. Most people don't understand how sensitive the issue is. So, after around 8 months again, I remember after my husband came to pay, they came for an introduction at our place. Immediately we went back to Nairobi. After a while, I then took in. And I was so happy. That time I didn't want even to move around. You want to just stay indoors. You don't want to interact with people because you don't know. That time you don't know where your problem is coming from. And after that, now that's when I took in and had my firstborn daughter. And I was the happiest woman on earth. It was like the whole pain I had gone through during my loss and trying moments and loss again were now healing. It's like I normally say it's like God used her to heal my heart. She was a gift for me to just console me, because after that I normally say that if I had not taken